Let's dive into the before pseudo element. The before and after pseudo elements, which we will explore in an upcoming video, are among the most widely used in CSS. Mastery of these will equip you to handle numerous CSS challenges. Let's begin by understanding the definition of before pseudo element. The before pseudo element creates a pseudo element that is the first child of the selected element only if you define a content property. Typically, it's used to insert decorative content into an element using the content property. It is inline by default. Consider these elements. So we have A, B, C, and the element B has the A as its child. And the HTML structure looks like this. Suppose we want to insert content as the first child of the B element. One approach is to manually add a div element with our desired content. However, if we aim to add this content without modifying the actual HTML, perhaps because altering the HTML isn't an option, the before pseudo element becomes our solution. When the before pseudo element is added to the B element, the before pseudo element is added as its first child without any changes to the HTML markup. This technique offers a solution to many front-end dilemmas, which we will further explore in this course. Now, there are 4 key aspects to remember about the before pseudo element. First, let's talk about style it with no limits. So it can be styled without constraints similar to the standard elements. First, let's talk about the style it with no limits. So it can be styled without constraints similar to standard elements. For example, if the div element contains the text Christmas discount, the before pseudo element with the content special will appear before the original text. Now, we are free to style the before pseudo element as desired. So we can add red background color, the white font color, and also any other CSS styling we can apply. Great. The second one to note is the before pseudo element is inline by default. Revisiting our example, the special prefix naturally appears on the same line as Christmas discount due to its inline nature. If it were a block element, which is another CSS layout, the 2 pieces of the text would be on separate lines. But because the before pseudo element is inline, they are on the same line. The third point to note is the before pseudo element cannot be applied to the replaced elements. So what exactly are replaced elements? A replaced element is an element whose representation is outside the scope of CSS, so its contents are not affected by the current document style. The definition sounds a little bit complex, but let's take a look at some of the replaced elements and understand it. The image tag, for instance, is considered a replaced element since it showcases an external image. So we can't modify its content of the image element using CSS. Similarly, an input element's appearance and functionality are governed by external factors like its type attribute. This could render it as a text field, button, checkbox, and more, taking its rendering beyond the scope of CSS. Likewise, a video tag displays external video content, which cannot be manipulated with CSS. For a deeper dive into replaced elements, the MDN offers a comprehensive article, and I'll leave this link in the resources section below the video. So, essentially, we can't use before pseudo element on replaced elements such as image, input, and video elements that CSS cannot influence or control. However, there is one exception with the input element. We can apply the before pseudo element only to the checkbox type, which I think is quite interesting. So upon adding the before pseudo element to the checkbox, and when you inspect it, you will find that before pseudo element appearing as the first child of the checkbox input element. Great. The last consideration I would like to bring up is the accessibility concerns. A vital aspect to highlight is the importance of accessibility. Typically, it's discouraged using the before pseudo element to display the content, as screen readers might not consistently read it. So it is recommended to display the decorative content using the before pseudo element. Alright, now let's head over to CodePen and practice using the before pseudo element.